Last week was last week, 22nd, no demos. We had discussion and demos about the admin menu, refactoring, suggestions, discussions. Today, do we have demos? And we will have topics, maybe. So, what else? Cheating people. Okay. Status altered one. Update on the PR. Everything was merged. New dependency updates, but these are old. How should go? This was last week. Then handle default authentication using events. So this one, yeah, it was not written. This wasn't the title at first, so that's a new title. So what it does is refactoring some logic that was in a controller and was doing a redirection to another controller. And now it's replaced by a custom new event. So a new API in the iLogin form event called login in async, which does nothing by default for backward compatibility reasons, in case you implemented this interface before. Which makes me think that it's actually wrong. Because if you implement another class, if you provide that, no, because we provide a default implementation. So there is a default implementation, this one, which will be registered, and that will implement the same logic as before. No, is that it? No, not this one. Where is the one? This one. This is the new default implementation of this method. Not the default implementation, but default implementation of this interface. And this is the method of this implementation. And this one is the code that was before on the controller, and that contains the logic. And now there is a single redirect, because also one reason of this change was that there were two redirects, one from the first controller and then one from the other one. Now there is only one. And that can be customized. Mike, want to add anything?
Nope. Nothing to add.
There was a side talk, however, so let's talk about it during the meeting. Let's open the thing. I love it. It was a nice discussion. I don't know what you think, Mike, but I love it. Let's open the pull request. Because we talked about keeping, well, adding or not adding a base class for iLogin form events. And in the end, I wrote that just to a summary of our discussion about base classes. It forced Mike to remove the base class, we think that we should accept base classes in these conditions. So so whenever we have an interface, should we provide a base class? My opinion was that we should not have that by default, like create one just because we want one, but if we need one. So we can provide a single implementation. So if we can provide a single implementation of a base class, if it adds some value. For instance, if we just want to add a base class that does nothing, just for the sake of creating a base class that people can inherit from, we should not have a base class. If we have two more implementations of a base class, then that makes it. Like if we have two ways to provide an interface that can be reused and we provide some reusable logic, let's create these base classes. So in this case here, it's like, if you have two more, do that. If you think about two more base classes. If in the end you just have one that does nothing, but just return like nothing for each of them, then it's probably not necessary. Also, we don't provide default implementation interface. So we don't create default implementation interface methods unless to prevent a breaking change. So it was decided that this thing here, which is a default interface implementation, so you see it's an interface, but it has an implementation, which means when you implement this interface, you don't have to do that. So this is done only for backward compatibility. So if you already implemented iLogin from event, then you don't have this method, and we don't want to break you. So we just say this is the default implementation if people have already implemented that. This way it won't break your code. Okay. So we say we should do that only for backward compatibility. In the next breaking change version, we should remove it and let people implement it, probably. We'll see. Base classes are documented with the reason when to use it or use them. So my idea is that we have an interface. This should be documented, but also the base classes that implement already this interface to show people what they can use, what they can inherit from, if they don't want to implement that, or what they should inherit from because they don't want to implement that. They should actually inherit from the base class, and to have it in a table listing all the base classes, all the implementation of this interface. So they know why there is a base class, what's the goal of this base class, what logic it adds, instead of just hiding important details of what it does. So discussion, and so at least we have it written somewhere. Could be also in the doc for the development if we have some. And what is funny, Mike, is that right after the meeting, I think I implemented something. Why? I did something. What? Maybe I will remember once we probably look at the rest, because there was another PR. What is the other PR we're working on? I know you mentioned the one we talked about. What's the other PR?
The widgets. I think you're talking about the default.
Yes, thank you. So I will go back on this one after, right? Because it's an interesting one and we can talk about, and I will mention what's related to that. Okay, next. Not really widgets, but it's widget. Handle default SMS message should be sent to phone number. Yeah, right. Who sends?
Yeah, I think this was a typo, like a copy
paste. Yeah, happens all the time. So sad. Oh, is that I saw a discussion this morning on Discord saying that they are using Twilio, but it doesn't work or something like that. That's it.
I don't know. Anything on
okay,
board?
Yeah, that's an easy fix. Phone number. Yeah, someone is receiving text in their email. They're like, why? add JsonStringEnumConverter to KnownConverters because apparently someone was before we were storing the string of an enum in the JSON, and now when we are loading it, it's trying to get an integer, so we need actually to be backward compatible and to just read the JSON string. This is a default converter.
This adds just a small behavior changes. So now, anytime you store an enum in the database, it is no longer an integer; it's a string. Shouldn't break anything, but
it's
just a behavior
both
change.
ways, yeah. But it was the default for JSON system, so for JSON.NET, right?
I think with the Newtonsoft, it would write as an integer, but allow you to convert both ways.
So this is as bad as a solution as without solution.
Yeah, I mean it's changing, you know.
Well,
but I mean it's going to increase the size of the request.
I'm saying that if it just accepts, so if you had before this version, you were saving an enum, it will save the integer with system text to run, or with JSON. And now we are seeing we only read the string. So if we only read the string,
we'll read both right now. This one will read both.
But this
string and integer, but we'll write as string.
And this one will read both also?
Yeah, we read both, but we store as integer, as a string.
Yeah, someone should try to confirm that. This will still read both. Otherwise, it's a breaking chain because we won't be able to read existing JSON documents.
I know it will allow you to read both. So that's why it was added.
Okay, good. Just because it's cheap. By default, hello numbers, hello string. Okay. Which is a default through hello integer values. So convert options, hello numbers, hello string, and otherwise just hello strings. This is the default instance with a new and no parameter, which we do here. Here. It's a new JsonStringEnumConverter, so this is using this line here. Hello string values, hello number values. So that's beautiful. This is just totally okay. Right.
It would have been probably even more helpful if they have an option to allow writing as a number instead of writing as a string.
So
some people might want to still write as a string.
It will always write as a string?
Yeah. I don't think there's an option to change that.
I was wondering where it's defined in this code, JSON factory. Writing can be customized in JSON naming policy. That's why. Okay, mkdocs update. Email Azure deconstructing email address that included display name because email Azure doesn't support email addresses with the name section. So it's just taking the address. So when we pass an email, we can have between angle brackets the name, and this is just extracting it because Azure email doesn't support that. But reminder, that's why we never log you sometimes, but not for the user. See it contains a connection string, which is weird. Yeah, so this also could be a problem. Errors. What do we do with the errors? Base class. Where is this base class? Azure email provider base, email provider, and errors, the new dictionary. And errors is here. Email result, fail result, errors, and async. Email provider. Get a SMTP provider. Here. ISMTP service, get SMTP provider. Where is that used? Here. Stand async. Wow. Okay, result. Saved. And we create another array from that. Good. Send async from ISMTP service. Where is that used? Here. Send async from email extension on the email service. Where is email service used? Wow. Here, admin controller, for instance.
I don't think admin service or email services, I think it might be obsolete.
But we have an extension method that is calling SendAsync, and it's there, it's
Oh,
used
okay.
there. So
Is it? Okay. I don't remember. I thought we removed it.
here, result.
Oh, yeah. No, we added it. We removed the SMTP service. That's what we did. Okay. Never mind.
So this is the test Gmail. So here it is fine. Yeah, my concern is that we are logging these errors. See, here we are just saying in the UI, okay, you provided me a test email and we are logging the issue, which is fine in this case, I'd say. But the more concerning is that if we are logging the errors and logs, then we are logging private information they may have received. So that's not good. We should not put the values in your messages. Because if tomorrow you ask the company, hey, please delete my email address, sure, but we still have your email address in our logs. So that's why we don't log private information. So that's, I think that should not be done. Inbound update, check for elastic settings before updating. Or because you can't add this dictionary when to update in place. This will add or update. This will, for an exception, if it already exists, probably it's the issue. But it was checking before. So I don't know. Yeah, so was it fading? Or maybe it was fading here, but not here. But now it's the same pattern, but probably it was fading here.
Well, yeah, I think the issue was elastic, and I suggested that he changes those as well. It's the same exact value. Yeah, so it's the same thing.
We always use the indexer on this way to never work.
Yeah,
that is dangerous. Cool. Okay, that's it for the updates, topics, questions. Or should we look at the widgets PR? Does it actually say widget? That's say widget. But it's not for widget, it's for everything. So the idea for this PR is that sometimes we use a mix of stereotypes and parts to plug behavior to content types. Example, the dashboard part is used to create dashboard widgets. And to create a dashboard widget, you need to create a content type that will have the dashboard widget stereotype and also attach the dashboard part. If you just have the dashboard part, you won't get a widget because we'll only find the types with the stereotype. If you just have the stereotype, then it will fail. Maybe. At least it won't work because it won't find the data it needs. So we need the two of them. So my PR here is about being able to configure that some stereotype will depend on some parts. And this way we just have to set the stereotype and we are sure that anything with this stereotype we have this part. Two advantages. First, it won't break because when you have this, when you find a type, you know that it will have a dashboard part. And second thing is that when you set the stereotype, you never forget, or you will never have to know and do the dashboard part assignment. So that's the two advantages here. To do that, there are a few events to be able to change the content type dynamically. There are two sets of events actually. And so I missed this discussion. Did I miss this discussion? No, I was part of the discussion. And so this PR provides a way to do that. Let's look at it. Oh yes, I wanted to talk about it also for the base class. So yeah, so there was a discussion about which event to use, and I'm not sure it's not the case anymore, but it was using some events which were for the controllers, more for the UI than for the inner type building. So I suggested to use another type, and to do that I tried first. Hey, does it work? Actually, that's how I found out it was not the correct SRVC. So what I did, I opened Orchard and I tried to create an implementation of high content definition handler. I think that's the one. I think that's the one. High content definition handler. Where are you? High content definition handler. This one. So I tried to implement that, and guess what? Like, I just wanted to implement one method, but I had to implement all of them by returning nothing. Does it make you happy?
No, it makes me sad. They had
So,
a base
like,
class, then you would
yes,
just implement the one version.
Exactly. And it was right after our discussion. And I'm like, fuck you, Mike. I want a base class here. Because the value, it's not like I have 3 methods to implement, right? I want a base class, or at least, or if not a base class, for me it would be better. I would love like a default implementation which says nothing, it does nothing. Like if you don't implement that, then nothing happens because it's an event, right? If I don't want to register to an event, I expect it to do nothing if I don't implement the event. But I know George was part of the discussion also. He didn't like default interface implementations. That's why we said we should not have them. But I'm like, here, in order of choice, I'd like to have a default implementation that says do nothing, or a base class, but I would not know there is a base. Maybe there is a base class actually, and I don't know, right? Maybe there is one actually. Is there?
There isn't, no.
Okay, but you know, like
I added it and then I ended up removing it because of your last comment.
Okay. For this one, for this class, I don't know.
Yeah, I added it for this.
Okay, but yeah,
and then I removed it.
For the events, I'm like, maybe we could have default implementations for the events such that we know that this is not about providing an implementation of a component. It's about, oh, I want to register to 1 event or 2 events or something, and not have to implement all the events just because I want to implement one. So that makes me sad. Yep, George.
But if you go to Visual Studio and hit implement interface, it adds everything.
No, it throws an exception.
Yeah, that's wrong.
Yeah, but I had to
Even
change
if
everything.
You have a default interface implementation.
Oh, you think? Really?
Yeah, I tried.
Well, at least if I see that, I'm like, no.
Maybe you can change that.
Because,
I don't know.
Yeah, no, because it can't be true, because otherwise, when would you use the default implementation? I'm sure there is a way. Let me see. So where is Orchard? I probably even still have the code here. Let me check. Orchard code. Oh yes, I did a my custom handler. You see, beautiful. Because this is where I left. This one. My custom handler. had to delete everything. So I content definition. I just wanted to implement that. I might click that. Content type creating. Let's go there. Slow, it's loading everything. Oh boy. Well, that's it, right? What? Or just that? Just that. Okay. So let's do that for content type created, and I want to implement created. So if I do that, and I say implement interface, content type creating, but not created. No, so it's working. So it's not providing. So George, you just.
Mine did create it, but
I
maybe
mean, I
there's
have a
setting.
good Visual Studio.
Yeah, maybe.
You don't have the good Visual Studio like I have, right? I think I have the public preview. So if I do that now, you see, otherwise it's not implemented. So I have to go everywhere and remove it. But here, I'm like control dot, generate, boom, and then override like it was a base class, and I can't do that. No, it's not override. It's does it tell me?
You have to make it virtual.
No. It's just I need to implement the interface. I just need to. But it doesn't.
Oh, that's the interface.
Yeah. And it did it differently. Anyway.
So now I can do that. So that's why I'm like, it's like the advantage of a dumb base class for these events where the default implementation of an event is just do nothing if you don't want to implement it. That's why maybe it's a different thing that we should have for the events, the event handlers, to have that so we don't have to implement all the events or have a base class just to do that.
Okay, I agree.
Something I don't like though is that I'd like to, how do I know what is available? Well, I can go to the event. It's easy for me just to go there, but it's sad that I need to file a report here. How do I public control space? I wanted to show me, like, you know, when you override, it will show you the list of things, but here it's not override. So, what I can do probably is that that dot, and doesn't it show you? No, that doesn't work. So yeah, just saying. Side discussion. Going back to the PR. So this PR is interesting. So this is both the implementation of the change and the usage of the change for the dashboard widget to add the dashboard part automatically. And to unbreak anyone, it's just instead of creating. So here we were before in the migration, we were creating. No, this is declaring the part to the system so it can be attached. So I'm marking the part as attachable so that in the content type definition, you can select this thing to be attached to it. And now it's saying, no, you don't even show that because it's what might call a system type, a system part, we'll see. The part that is there, but should not be used by end users on the UI. So you can't delete it. You can't add one with the same name. It's a part provided by a component that is not for end users to be used. It's just to be added to a stereotype. There is a event handler here, content definition handler. I thought it was not the one you should implement. Is it the other one? So is that the one that
it's a new one? No, this is a new one.
Oh, this is a new one. Content definition handler, and the one I have is content definition
event handler.
Oh boy.
Because this should be migrated to this new one at some point because these events are being called from the manager and the other one is being called from the service. which is bad.
So
that's
yeah. So that's the one that is called from the service/UI, and that's the one that is useless because even the only one we implement, I think, is for alias, and it's doing nothing. So I'm not even sure we should migrate. I don't know if migrate is the word. We should just delete, remove it, or
that's what I meant by migrate, meaning we just need to add those, start calling these methods into the new interface, and then obsolete the old ones, and give people a migration path.
And this, and this interface, let's see. So this interface is this one, my content definition handler, which now has content type building, content type part building, content part field building, and content part definition building. Part field, type part, content type. So when we are building a type, you can say, I also want to build the type with you. And these events here, this is just a log pattern, meaning all the actions on the type are recorded in the database. So to build a type, we just have a set of actions, like, give the name, add the part, add the field, something like that. And we just run all these actions, and then in the end, we have a type. We don't store the type as is and save it. We store all the operations to apply to a type. And when we start Orchard, we apply all these operations, and then we get the type from the content type manager. So this event here is to be able to be included into this phase where we execute a few actions. So here, building content type context. So what is so there is type building, type part field, and there is this one, content part definition building. This doesn't look content part definition building and content type building. This is configuring, you'll see. This is the same thing that we saw earlier. This is the context classes. So just, that's an interesting, some metadata to know what we have access to. And you have an implementation somewhere. Shall we be able to find it? This one? The dashboard part content type definition there. So how does it look if we want to attach a part to a widget? The content type building it's using, the content type part building, the content part definition building, it's doing a lot of things, and the content part field doesn't care. So in the content type building, you are saying context of record, which is the thing that is stored in the database to apply changes, but it's also the thing that is executed. You say settings, try to get the settings. You get a stereotype, right? So if it has a stereotype and if it is dashboard widget, this is a constant. If it's not, so if it is, you say, does it have the dashboard part in the content type part definition records? If it has, you return. If it doesn't, you say, let's add the dashboard part. And let's say it's not removable. So that's a new custom metadata, like attachable, like secureable, all the things we have on the content type. But attachable is on the part already. And it's adding is removable false, just to let people know, or the system know, that you should be able to remove that. And then this one, content type part building. Why do we need that? Why do we need to change the content type building and also the content type part building? Because it's also adding a setting this level at the content type part building. But that is confusing me. Content
So
type
one
part
of them is when you attach the part on the type. And the other one is the part definition. So you'll have a definition for the part.
But why do you change that on the part itself and on the type part? These are two, oh, like one say you can't delete a part, and the other says you can't remove a part from this type.
Correct.
Okay. The same setting. And then this one, content part definition building. So this one is the content type part. So I can't remove what here? Because content type part definition records, you say you can't delete this part, the type part definition.
That's the default settings. That's the default settings of that part. So
Okay.
that part is not removable.
Well, we are on the type, and we say add a content type part definition record. So this record, when applied, it will have the settings just for this type. And I think it's doing the same thing as here, which is a content type part building, which says when you add a part to a type, and if this type, if this part is a dashboard part, set this thing to, I think it's a duplication here, because it's also the part setting, the type part setting. This one, content part definition building, when we create a type, no, sorry, content part definition, when we create a part, this one is for the part itself. Okay, so this one I think is fine, but this one, these the two above, I think they are a duplication. Okay, but that's how it works. So that's just exposing the low-level API to build the types. It's working, even if there is duplication. At least it's working. Okay, so this is a minor detail. And this new interface, this was, I think, the last thing I was not sure about. Where is it used? That's where content definition manager. In the content definition manager. Yeah, that's good. Okay. In the content definition manager, we get all the new handlers. And oh yes, first I have a question about this name here, which I don't know what it means. Because here you are seeing build with a name. The name is, in this case, the name of the part, for instance, or the name of the type, okay, depending on the event, or the name of the field, whatever. And see content type definition build. So now there is a new name, but this name here is just passed to the context of this new event. Okay, so we have a new property here just to pass in the building content type context. But the build, so in this case, if it's a content type, the name will be the name of the content type. But that's what uses me, which because this context or this source here is a content type definition record. So we already have the name of the content type of the resource inside this property. So why?
You have it if it's not null. Because content type definition could be null, meaning that that name does not have a definition. So you can use the listener to say, okay, well, I'm just going to create the definition for you.
I see. So, but that isn't that weird then? Shouldn't we? I see. So null means it's a new one.
It just means that you're trying to create definition for something that is not part of the definition manager.
But a record. Okay. So a definition might be null, but the definition record is always not null. I see. So the record here, this is the record. Yeah, the
source, correct.
That's the record. That's the record. That's the content definition record.
So that could be null.
Okay, I will have to debug that. That seems weird. And if I'm assuming null being like it doesn't exist, so we are building a new type. So let's, yeah, okay. Content type building. So content type definition, content type building. I'm interested into these ones. So the content type building, the content type part building, the content part definition building, content part field building. So just for those who are not familiar with this API. So this one I will skip because this one I need to look into. Content type remove. This is when you're, yep.
Those are just like reformatting. There's no changes here, just so you know.
Yeah, and I will check. Okay. So content part attach when we attach a part. Content part attach. And these ones. Oh no, this is a content definition service. This is not what I want to see. This is my search. Content definition manager. This is what I want to see. Content definition service. Okay. Content definition manager, we have that. So content type building, when we start building content type, we'll see this is the one. Content type, okay, content type building is for a type. Content type part building is for when we are adding a part to a type. So this is customizing the part in the context of a type. For instance, we could have alias part for an article and alias part for a blog post. And this event is called when we add the part to a type. So these are the settings associated with the part for the type. Okay, so each type part tuple will have a different set of settings. Same thing here. This is now for the part itself, the part definition, independent of the types. This is a part field. So this is when we add a field to a part, because the same field can be added to multiple parts, but the settings of a field depend on the part we add it to. Like the defaults, the validation, this is for each part, you can define different settings. So just to be clear about what the type part means, what the part field means. Because there are type settings, part settings, field settings, and there are type part and part field settings. And all these things are in the content manager, the definition manager. The content service, content type service, content definition service is for the UI, or you found a better name earlier. Yeah, the services using the content type definitions. And these are values. You should make, yeah, kind of useless actually. It is too late to do anything. Okay, cool. So that's the PR, and that's what we are reviewing right now. And the usage, you've seen that by using a custom event handler. The migration is just for removing what was done before, because now we don't need this part to be available. It's adding automatically by click. I still need to look into the detail of this thing and why it's not. Cool. Questions? Other PRs of value, Mike, you know all the PRs?
I haven't really spent a lot of time on PRs.
Kevin is doing something.
That one is he's upgrading, and it's just not really ready to preview. So it's not ready to merge. look and see what else we have.
Lots of usage of Elasticsearch, multiple contributors on this module. That's interesting. And we've merged a few of them already in the past weeks.
Is the .NET 9 support? Is that one ready?
I assume it's still building. It's ready. It's waiting for the .NET 9, but it's ready. So there are not that many changes.
Yeah.
I might have to do another quick commit to migrate some of the like this thing, like you see that this is not used. So in my PR, I saw a warning, so I removed it. But when I see these things, I usually extract these changes to put them back in main. So this PR is only about the .NET 9 and not like, oh, there is a using this thing, or there is a space here that fails compilation because in this branch, the default SDK and the default settings we use will warn for formatting. But it's ready.
Yeah, we can probably have another PR that just apply all the formatting for on the project.
I mean, there are just a few files. It's just as I merge main to my branch, then I see these issues. And then I create another commit on main to fix them, and I remove it from that. So it's just, I do it every time. That's fine. I will have to do it again. No, this is working because this is what we run for the benchmark. So this branch is what we run the benchmark continuously to be able to run on the .NET 9. And this is the only breaking change.
I think .NET 9 should be coming up soon, right? Should be released.
November 11 or something like that.
Yeah, couple weeks.
12, 14. So where is, I think it matches the .NET Conf. Yeah. So it's in 2 weeks. Yeah, it's usually on a Tuesday, right? I believe it's usually when we ship on Tuesday. So in 2 weeks, and when it's shipped, we can merge that, and it will just make people will have to download .NET 9 to be able to build also. But you can deploy also on .NET 8. So you just need .NET 9 to build because that will be a supported framework. Or you just, yeah, that will be necessary. Just to do. Cool. All good? Questions, comments?
I think we're good.
What will we talk about on Thursday? In the good section.
Well, if you submit PR, we'll have PRs to review. But if you don't submit PR,
I'm just discussing your PRs, but that's the best. Or we are waiting for George to come with a controversial PR.
What?
Data localization. I saw data localization. Where to get this thing inside? This one, 5 years ago. And I think there were some progress at some point, and I said it looks good. Spring. What did I say last? That's it, really. Let me see about that. Yeah, we should review that because probably good enough. And it should not be a breaking chain. Okay. Cool. If we have time on Thursday, we'll try to look at this, run it, or maybe we need to make it big on this branch, but it won't be hard. Awesome. Thanks, everyone. See you next
Thank
week.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Yeah, bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.